Hi, my name is Ruthie LeDuc, and I am 7 years old.
My name is Lucy LeDuc. I am 10 years old, and I go to Lakeside Middle School in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
This is our life.
I like to play softball, I like to play tennis, I like to play on my iPad, and I like to wrestle my sister.
And I like to go outside and play out there.
But Ruthie has to draw that. I go to Lakeside Middle School.
In school, I learned how to read, so now I'm really good at reading.
I make all A's.
We like to play with toys and shoes. I don't really like clothes, and I really like shoes because they're pretty. We love all of our pets. Dog's name is Molly Rose LeDuc, and my cat's name is Oliver, but we haven't got it middle names.
Here I am in Lucy's point of view.
I like my mom because she hangs out with me all the time and she plays games and we play headbands all the time.
She's a photographer. Colors turquoise. She loves vintage stuff. She loves Kentucky Fried Chicken. She is
pretty cool.
He was a football player for the OSU Cowboys. He was number 32, was also the mascot.
Cause I like to hang out with him and go to Daddy Daughter Dance, and when he takes us in the morning to go get donuts on Friday. The favorite part about when they love me.
There's a love that your wife shows you, but there's a different kind of love that your kids show you. And, you know, I didn't know what that was until I had kids.
Our parents are really cool, but they couldn't have any kids, but they had us.
We had tried to have children in our early marriage and even did the infertility drugs and in vitro and, you know, spent a lot of money doing that. And after that failed, you know, I told Shannon, I said, we can do this again. And she goes, I can't do this again. It was just too much on her physically and mentally. And so I wasn't for sure what our next step was going to be.
We've been in and out of, you know, fertility clinics for 7 years. And meanwhile, everybody that you see at Walmart or wherever is pregnant. You're going to baby showers every weekend and just like, okay, when's it my turn? My husband got a job offer in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And so we came to check it out, and I'd never heard of Hot Springs, Arkansas. I'd heard of it, but I didn't know where it was. But we came to visit. It was a great fit, and I immediately thought I'd start looking for fertility doctors in Arkansas because I thought, okay, we're going to try this again. I mean, adoption wasn't on my radar. In fact, people would mention it, and it was an insult. I'm like, no, I'm just talking to God, and I'm just saying, you know, please, I know something's good's going to happen, but I need. When is this going to happen for me? And little did I know it was happening. Lucy's birth mom was already pregnant and already was leaning toward picking us as a family, and we had no idea. And so here I am praying for Lucy and it was already happening.
Lucy's birth mother went to school where Shannon taught, and when she looked through our portfolio, she recognized Shannon, and she said, that's Miss LeDuc, and she was a really cool teacher. And if I decide to give this baby up, I'm going to pick her to be the mother.
So we hadn't lived here long, and I had on the top of my to-do list for, you know, Monday, look up fertility doctors in Hot Springs and Little Rock. And that night I had the most vivid dream. And I had, in my dream, I woke up out of bed and I went into our little office, and it was a nursery. And there we had adopted a baby girl in our dream, and it was so real. And I remember looking down into the crib, and there she was. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I woke up, and the plan that day was to start searching for doctors. I thought, you know what, maybe that's a little bit of a sign, you know, to look into adoption. And it's not as easy. You don't just decide you're going to adopt. I thought, okay, well, now what do I do? So I began researching agencies, and the first few, it was press 1 if you want to talk to, you know, a caseworker, press 2 for this, you know, press 3 for Spanish, that kind of thing. And then finally I would get a hold of a human, and so many times the deposit was, you know, $5,000. You may or may not get this deposit back, you know, and there's you'll have to wait until April to go to a seminar. And then I was heartbroken, because I just thought, you know, once we decide to adopt, you know, let's get the ball rolling. But I realized it was going to be a long road. I hear, hello? And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I meant to call the adoption agency, Crisis Pregnancy Outreach, and the person on the other end of the line said, oh, honey, this is it, but this is a ministry. We don't want to call it an agency. It's completely nonprofit. Now let me call you back. I'm at Kroger checking out. And I said, okay. And I sat and waited for the call, and she said, now it is $30 to send in your application. But you have to be willing for three things. You have to be a stay-at-home mom, you have to be a Christian couple, and most importantly, you have to be willing to have an open adoption. I said, I'm not sure about the open adoption part, but okay. Write this letter, put together our life book, and we send it in. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to write. I was a, you know, English major. So right after we sent it in, Liz, who is my 10-year-old's birth mother, she happens to be walking into the agency, or to the, you know, and she's just found out she's pregnant. She's a freshman in college. So she goes in asking for help, and the director says, well, let me tell you what we do. We help you if you choose to parent the baby. We help you with job interviews. We help you with, you know, a new apartment. We help you with anything you need. But if you choose to place this baby for adoption, this is how we do it. We give you a stack of life books. Here they are, and you just look through them, and you're in charge. You choose these parents. She said, we're not finding
for babies for families. They were actually looking for families for babies. And when you think about that, it's a different way to look at it.
Here's an example. Here's one that just showed up, and she opened it for Liz, and Liz looked down at it, and she said, that's Mrs. LeDuc. She goes, oh my gosh, she taught English next to me when I was at Broken Arrow High School. And she said she was the tennis coach and I was a trainer. She was getting prenatal care and cared very much for this baby, and tried really hard to make it work on her own. But she came home one night and realized, I can't do this. And one of the things she kept saying, she said, I just want her to have Disney World. I want her to have, you know, an upbringing like she's supposed to. Liz had this dream, and it was in 3 parts, and it was like Silhouette. And the first part of the silhouette was she could see herself walking across the stage at college graduation. And the next thing was her entire family getting together for Thanksgiving, because it was before Thanksgiving when this all happened. And everyone was back together, because they'd had some family, you know, things going on, and everyone's back together and happy. And she said there was no baby in the picture. She said in the next little vignette, there was a family on the beach, and it was a mom and a dad and a little toddler, and they're holding her hand. And she said the mom had curly hair. She said, I knew it was you. So the next morning, she called Cheryl back at the Crisis Pregnancy Outreach, and she said, Cheryl, I know what I want to do. And it had been months since she had seen Cheryl, since she'd gotten the life book. It had been all summer and then partway through the fall. She said, I want the LeDucs to have my baby. And Cheryl said, oh, that's great, honey. And she said, and I want to call him right now. I want to tell him myself. Cheryl said, okay, you can't call them yourself. You have to come in. We're going to call them together. This is a really big deal. And Cheryl said, please just look at these other books. And she said, why? This is the family. It is. And so later I was working at First Baptist Preschool in the 4-year-old program, just kind of for fun. I get a phone call on my cell phone, and I answered it, and it's the director from the agency, and she said, hey, Shannon, I have somebody that you're really going to want to talk to. And I just was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I hear this little voice, Mrs. Ledoux, can I sit down? She said, this is Liz, and she said her last name, and she said, I don't know if you remember me or not. And I said, I do. And she goes, well, I'm going to have a baby Christmas Eve, and I want you to have her.
I've gotten to meet my birth mom. Her name is Liz. I saw her at work before. She has blonde hair. She's sweet.
She have kids?
She has me.
So we got up pretty early and we're at the hospital by 7. Of course, she wasn't born until 9:30 at night. So we were there all day.
All day. And I remember it was Christmas time, so we were watching the Grinch Stole Christmas on, it's one of her favorite movies, one of Liz's favorite movies. We're watching that, and as the time got closer, it ends up we are cheering her on at her bed. I mean, I went from thinking we'll just pick her up at the curb to watching our baby be born. Shane cut the cord, and it sounds great. It was amazing. And we're just, standing there watching. It was just amazing, watching your own baby be born. And they hand her to Liz, and Liz just looks down. She says, I'm just so proud. I'm so proud. As the nurse said, this little girl's been flashing her dimples at me all night. And my whole family, my mom has dimples, I have dimples, Shane's mom has dimples, and I just thought, oh my gosh, dimples, We went back to our room right down the hall from Liz and went to sleep. And so the next morning, it must have been whatever, 6 o'clock, and she wheels her in and we just look at her, and Liz is awake and she's just sitting there in her bed. And Liz all along had said, wouldn't it be cool if it would snow the day she was born? It snowed the day I was born, and my mom always told me about it, and oh, wouldn't that be cool? It was quiet. It felt like nobody was in the hospital but us. And I go and I open the shades to the hospital room. Snow's coming down, and Liz just looks at it. She goes, I can't believe it. And we're, so I always knew that I wanted, more than one child. Of course, originally when I was, first married, I think I wanted like 5 kids.
Ruthie, you're the poem I dreamed of writing, the masterpiece I long to paint. You are the shining star I reach for in my ever hopeful quest for life fulfilled. You are my child, now with all things I am blessed. When Lucy was
about 2.5, we started looking into adopting another baby. I put in another life book for Cheryl, and this time, of course, it had, Lucy in it, and it was a lot easier to make this time because I did know what our idea of a family together was, and I sent that in. And we got matched up with a birth mom pretty quickly. She was actually going to have a little boy, and it ended up not working out. I was upset, of course, but at the same time I thought, okay, God, this is going to be really good. I know something good's going to happen out of this. This was another trial, and at the end of each trial that we've had, something even better has happened on the other side. And I just, knew. Shortly after that, I get a letter from my aunt, and it said, my best friend's granddaughter is pregnant, and she's really struggling with, what to do, in this situation. And they're kind of looking at adoptive families, but they can't really find a family that suits what they're looking for. And they're also, they may plan on parenting this baby, they're just not sure. And so my aunt said, thank you for being a great example of an adoptive family that we can show my friend. I said, well, we're looking, we're actually very interested in adopting again. And she said, oh, okay, well, I'll let them know. I didn't know, I wasn't sure. I was just happy that you could be an example. And so that's how we got the ball rolling with Ruthie.
If you're interested in adoption,
there are people out there like Shannon and I, loving families that would love to have a good, healthy baby to bring home and have as their own.
That's all for me.